Hello, Bravo bosses. This is the Bravo Investigator Podcast. I'm your host, Dana, and today we are doing Scamanda updates, Watch What Happens Live with KJ, and a Summer House recap. Let's get into it. Happy Wednesday, everyone. I hope everyone's had a great week so far. I am literally on my lunch break right now. I ran home to let Judy out, and now I'm trying to do this as quickly as possible. I'm probably not going to release it till after work because I won't have time to do the editing, but I figured, you know what? I have an hour lunch break. I am going to use it to talk to y'all. I literally cannot believe there are some more Scamanda updates because I thought, okay, today we are just going to be doing maybe Watch What Happens Live if anything happens, and then the episode, right? Because I'm like, there can't be more. There can't be more. Especially because I just gave you guys an episode of Be True Hollywood Story on Monday. I hope that you caught it. I think the episode did pretty well. It's getting pretty good feedback. So basically, Be True Hollywood Story is a limited series that I do here on the Bravo Investigator podcast. It used to be once a month. It's a little bit less now just because I'm so busy with all the other episodes. But basically, Be True Hollywood Story is the story of your favorite Bravo lab from birth to scandal to stardom and everything in between. So Be True Hollywood Story tells you how your favorite Bravo lab got to where they are today. They may not be your favorite Bravo lab. They may be Amanda Batula, but, go back, check out that episode. It was 2 parts, or you could watch the full thing on YouTube. It was just an audio episode, but you can watch the audio. So let's get into our Scamanda updates for today because they are a-coming. So basically yesterday, well, first, Ciara appeared at the Met Gala and she looked so amazing. She was wearing like a white bustier type of outfit, which was really, really hot. And it kind of was reminiscent of like a Tim Burton-esque sort of outfit, if that makes any sense. So it was like a white bustier, but then had a skirt that was like detached, but then like attached separately. So I thought that that was really cool. And so obviously we know Ciara's having her moment. She's going to be doing Dancing with the Stars. She has so many amazing things on the horizon. And I guess Amanda felt like, what about me? She was having like a Sheena moment because we haven't heard from her in a while, which good girl, just relax, heal, do whatever it is you need to do. Maybe apologize to some people, who knows? But definitely something she hadn't decided, or something she decided to do, I guess, was come back to the internet. So basically she posted this picture of herself. It's like a mirror selfie and it just says boo, as if to imply like I'm back because I haven't been around in a while. And she later deleted it, which I think is really interesting, after the internet sort of went wild being like, can't you just let Ciara have a moment? Like, she's at the Met Gala, she's doing her thing, and you can't even let her have a day? Because that's sort of what it seemed like when we hadn't heard from Amanda Batula in a while. We haven't heard from Wes Wilson in a while, besides from like audio leaks and things like that. And the moment they choose to, I don't know, come back on the internet is when Ciara is getting a lot of fanfare. It's so fucked up. And it so just shows that no matter what they say, their feelings are not real. Their feelings in terms of their feelings for Ciara, it just shows that they've just never really had true friendship feelings for her. They've never truly cared about her. I've never been more certain of anything. So West spoke on his podcast for a second time. Remember, he has this podcast called Show Me Pod with Sophie Cunningham, who people say is awful. I'm not sure the details on all that, but I will assume you guys are correct. He decided to talk about the audio leaks. So I'm going to play the clip of him talking about that.
I don't think anyone on stage should have a risk. I don't someone where audio is, but they found the person. I don't know who it is, but I'm gonna ask eventually. I don't think it's ever happened before. I want to know fucking everything. Bravo's so buttoned up with everything. I'm sure they're just fucking so pissed, but obviously it wasn't me.
I think I'm trailing in the right direction.
I mean, that's what matters to me the most is these are my friends, and I've caused a lot of damage, which fucking sucks. It's going to take time for sure. doing the reunion was one step, and got through it. And so we're on the other side of it. And reunions aren't fun, but it's like the darkest form of therapy. Like you don't normally get that much feedback on how your actions impact other people. Like I'm not trying to be cliche, but the only thing I can do from this is like learn and try to be better.
You're human. And I think this is a good way to look yourself in the mirror, but also it's a good time to reflect things, to grow and mature and get better. And everyone can do that.
The only way you can make experiences like this worth it, as dark as it gets, is to be better from it later. And like, obviously, I have a lot to learn from and be better for, but it's absolutely the only way you can make any of this, like, turn it positive.
Here's the problem, though. At a reunion a couple seasons ago, you were sat down by Paige and told, like, your spatial awareness is off. It doesn't make sense the way that you look at Ciara. You don't look at her the way that we look at her. We look at her as having this absolute allure to her, but according to you, there's more of an allure to the lights and the fame and all of that stuff. And she asked him to sort of learn from that. And here we are in a similar situation, and it just sort of feels like, okay, does he have the capacity to learn new things? He's sitting here saying, okay, all I can do from this is like learn and grow. But like when we make the same mistakes over and over again and expect different results, like you're not going to be able to maintain those friendships. Like there's no way Ciara is ever going to talk to you again. There's no way Ciara is ever going to forgive you, right? Because how many times can you fuck up before a person just really decides to not have you in their life? So, I mean, all of that being said, I just think it's really interesting that this is the time that West and Amanda decide to come back to the internet. So another thing that happened right before the episode the other day or last night was Mia dropped a story right before the episode aired. So it was really clear that she saw the clip from West. And so she decided to say the following. Hold on, I'll play her clip.
Less podcast equipment, more therapy. Okay. Less podcast equipment, more dentist visits. There's a lot of missing side tooths out there.
She is so sassy. I absolutely love her. She is so freaking funny. And then KJ was on Watch What Happens Live last night, right after the episode. So I'm just going to go over that quickly, and then we will get into the episode. So KJ was asked by Andy Cohen if he has heard from West via text, because the last time he was on Watch What Happens Live, he said that he had not heard from West. So this time KJ said, yes, I have heard from him, but I have actually not read the text yet. So Andy was like, oh, okay, do you want to read this on camera? Which he did decide to do. He did read it quietly to himself first, but then he decided to read the text on camera for everybody. So we'll read the text and then chat about it. So here's what it said. I wanted to thank you for your articulation and kindness yesterday, despite being hurt. I've been off socials and I think I lost touch with how much hurt there was, and I am incredibly sorry. Also sending you love in regards to your mental health. You shared a lot yesterday, and I know it might not carry a lot of weight right now, but I am always rooting for the best for you. I know it will take some time, but whenever you feel like you're ready, lunch or a phone call would mean a lot in the spirit of healing. No need to respond. Take your time. I mean, this is all well and good, and this is like a fine enough text, but it doesn't speak to the fact that he didn't address KJ much earlier on, because remember, he was like kind of ignoring and ghosting his friends at the beginning of this. And I truly believe that KJ is taking this a little bit harder than the rest of the crew for like a variety of reasons, which I'm going to talk about when we get into the episode. But you know what? Like, I think KJ can do better when it comes to friendships. I think he's made a bunch of amazing friendships with the guys in the house. It may be West, how he was introduced to them, and I guess he'll always have to be grateful for that. But at the end of the day, West is not a good friend to him. I don't think he owes West anything. And if he never wants to call him back, I don't think he should have to. Okay, so let's get into the episode. This is episode 14, and I believe there is only one more episode left after this. Then we have the In the City premiere right after the finale. Then we have a 3-part reunion. So don't forget that, guys, a 3-part reunion. All right. So we start the episode off with Jesse, and he's volunteering at this camp for kids with cancer. He brings a bunch of the crew along with him. And he ends up expressing in this portion of the episode that he has friends and he obviously tried to go for the wrong girl earlier in the season, a la Ciara. And he's been trying to fill like this void that he has because he feels so lonely with a relationship. But he realizes that what he actually has to do is work on himself, but he just feels very lonely. Now, I felt that this was, I don't know, a really interesting viewpoint from him. It was really sad to hear him think about himself in this way. I feel like when we saw him come in at the beginning of season 8, he seemed like really excited to be like famous and to come into this world and become an influencer and all this stuff. And then in season 9, he sort of gets like knocked down a couple of pegs because people start really hating on him because of his treatment of Lexi. Plus, I've even heard him talk on podcasts about how the fan reaction and a lot of the hate can really affect his mental health. And so I don't know, something that I've just seen from him this season is just a very like blasé attitude and just really not trying to get in the mix and just really just seeming a bit depressed, quite frankly. And I feel like the way that he just expressed it here is quite frankly, it just shows that, you know, all the fame and all the money, it doesn't really mean anything if you don't really know who you are or what you want in life. Because he says that this isn't even really about a relationship. Like, I need to work on me. Like, I'm lonely. I have all these things, but I'm lonely. And I think he really needs to sit in that and figure that out. Maybe go to therapy, maybe do something because I don't know. It just made me really sad to hear that he feels that way about himself. And I feel like the show has had a great impact on the way that he feels about himself, if you ask me. So then Ciara is also there and she's telling the camera that she just feels a lot better now that she and West are buds. And then she's like, oh, wait, that's too platonic of a word. And I'm like, oh man, Ciara, like, I feel like it's just gotten so confusing because like you had Sabrina Bell telling her that like, oh, West has a crush on you. And then West sat on her. And so she thought he has a crush on her. But I really don't think that he has feelings in her in that way. And even though he expresses later, I think Ciara and I are like on the same page in terms of friendship. I feel like everyone else is sort of pushing us into doing other things and being more and what does it mean and this and that. And that's sort of like what's screwing everything up. She says that she wants to gravitate to where he's at. And that's just sort of like what she's used to. That's sort of her mentality. That's what she's kind of, you know, that's what she wants. But she knows that she sort of has to like pull it back a little bit. Now, it's also Bailey's 2-year anniversary of It Girl, which is like her brand. She does like the street interviews and stuff. And Levi helped her plan the event, and it's like this really big deal. Now, even though we don't know Bailey that well and we don't know It Girl that well, we can still sort of be like, yeah, girl, you know, it's just hard to sort of be as invested in this thing when we just don't really know that much about it. But at the same time, I could tell that It Girl was like sort of integrally involved with Summer House prior to Bailey joining this show. Like I have seen the Summer House cast members do It Girl interviews, not on the street, but in like, you know, studio sort of settings. And I was just like, oh, okay. So maybe this girl is really a friend of the cast. We never really got that backstory. I just think we were told she was a friend of Amanda's or something like that. But, you know, she definitely is in that influencer space. The event looks absolutely beautiful and really cool. Her dress was absolutely beautiful and everyone showed up and showed out. Now, Lindsay and Amanda ended up having a conversation at the event because Lindsay wanted to talk about her running into Sharon at the soft bar event and what that was like for her. Now, she feels like Sharon was like this mother figure to her for over 10 years. So she was really taken aback that Sharon pulled her aside at the event. And she was also really taken aback and kind of can really never get over the fact that Sharon said on national TV that Carl and Lindsay should break up. Which is not what Sharon said, Lindsay. She said that maybe you guys should sort of take some time and space because it doesn't seem like you guys are in the best place to get married. I understand completely where Lindsay is coming from, especially because Lindsay does not have her mom in her life. So Sharon is sort of that only person. That being said, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, that in the final season that Lindsay and Carl were together, Lindsay was like, well, I haven't seen Sharon in like a year. I haven't seen Lou, which is Sharon's husband, in like a year. So I don't really know why they're contributing to our relationship or having an opinion. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure. Again, it's also just like normal for Lindsay to have these sorts of feelings about her ex potential mother-in-law, obviously. But as a Sharon fan, I really don't feel like she did anything wrong. I don't feel like the text that she sent Lindsay was wrong. I don't feel like her wanting to clear the air was wrong. Her saying what she said on national TV, I understand why it hurt Lindsay, but I don't think it was necessarily like this bad or wrong thing to do. She was supporting her son, right? And she was thinking about Carl in those moments and not Lindsay in those moments, which is kind of normal of a mom to do with her son, I guess. Okay, so then we have a scene of the crew heading to the beach. And on the way in the car, Ciara talks to everyone about her idea about Kyle and Amanda living separately and separating. Mia says, I don't know, you never know. Maybe it could work. It could make them really miss each other. Lindsay kind of feels kind of weird about it. She's like, I don't know. If I heard about a couple that was married for a long time and then the wife went and got her own apartment, I'd be like, okay, that sounds like a really last ditch effort. And Lindsay tells the camera that I have known Kyle and Amanda for a very long time, and I've been friends with them for a very long time. So the mama bear in me wants to do something. And I think, the fact that Lindsay is obviously in a different life right now. She's got Gemma. She's not on the show full time. I don't think she realized how bad things truly were getting with Kyle and Amanda. I think she will learn that once she becomes really close with Amanda for In the City, because she did mention on Watch What Happens Live that she and Amanda were basically like best friends during In the City. But I think that she just doesn't have a real sense of like how bad things truly are, because are we at the point of last ditch effort? Yes, absolutely. And the fact that Lindsay doesn't see that, well, that's because she hasn't really been around in the same way this summer, right? So at the beach, Ben tells Jesse that he wants to ask Sabrina to be his girlfriend and tell her that he loves her all in one. He apparently has not told a girl that he's loved her in 15 years, which is interesting because wasn't he on The Bachelor, or he was The Bachelor? I didn't watch his season, obviously. It's Australia, but like, did he didn't make it all the way to the end with someone? I guess he did. Did he like abandon his own season? Did he not pick someone at the end? I mean, I'm sure I could just Google all of these things for myself. Guys, don't come for me. But like, you haven't been in love in 15 years? That's crazy. And like, that even points more to the fact that I truly believe that he and Sabrina have been together this entire time. There's no way that you guys have only been together 2 weeks and you are so head over heels in love, want to tell her that you're in love, want her to be your girlfriend, take her to Australia to meet your parents, buy her a ticket, and all this stuff for someone that you've only been dating like a few weeks. No, you've been dating this entire time. Like, let's be real. Because if he's a guy who hasn't been in love in 15 years, he's obviously not the kind of guy who moves like really, really fast. Now, he said something really interesting that kind of put me off. Now, he said that his dad was born again Christian. That's not what put me off. But he said that his dad didn't talk to him for years after he had an indiscretion with a high school girlfriend. So he's very tentative about rushing into things with girls. Okay, lots to unpack here. What do you mean an indiscretion with a high school girlfriend? Now, he was talking about not having sex before marriage and how his dad was very traditional in that realm. So either his dad caught him having sex with a high school girlfriend or he impregnated a high school girlfriend. That's sort of where I'm leaning. I'm like, did he get someone pregnant? Is that what happened here? And then when he talks about rushing into things with girls, you do seem like you are rushing into things with Sabrina Bell, right? Like it really does seem that way, regardless of whether you have been together all summer or not. That really just puts you at having been together for only a few months. So I understand the mentality of being careful and not wanting to rush into things, but that doesn't explain why he's taking things so differently with Sabrina. But I think because Sabrina is so open and wears her heart on her sleeve and everything, and really tells him where the relationship is at, like in a good way, right? Like she's very open about like, here's where we're at. So he never feels like he's in his head about anything. He just feels a lot more comfortable moving quickly with her because they really talk about every aspect of it. Plus, I think he is worried about possibly losing her again, right? He turned her down once to go to the Hamptons for the summer, allegedly, and doesn't want to lose her again. So maybe he feels like he needs to move quickly with her in order to keep her. What else happened in this episode? Okay, so Amanda goes to talk to Mia. This is while we're at the beach, and they talk about soft bar. Amanda was really apparently upset about not being invited to like the after hang. So remember how Sabrina Bell had organized like a date, like a double date with herself and Ben and Ciara and West, and then also invited Jesse to maybe come along? Well, they flash back to Amanda being like really upset, showing her phone, being like, "Oh, I wasn't invited. I wasn't invited at all." And it's like, wow, she really I just never noticed this about her in general. Like, I just didn't know she was such a needy attention whore type of person. It's just not something I've ever seen. And if we hadn't have been looking at her in this realm in the way that we are now, I don't know that I would have ever seen this of her. I always saw her as very like open and loving and giving and not selfish. But in every scene, she does come off like pretty selfish, if I have to say. So they're talking about that and how she wasn't invited. And then it really feels like Amanda is just trying to maybe project her feelings away from West by saying things like, I love Ciara so much. She deserves better than anyone in the world. And if she were to look at me the wrong way about West, I would cut him out in a second. She's the most amazing person ever. And yes, like I would hope that you would feel this way about your friend Ciara, but we know that you don't feel this way. That's why this scene was just such a joke at this point, right? Like it's hard to even watch this seriously without like banging your fists on the table. But a few months later, Amanda, you and West full on got together and it didn't matter what Ciara wanted. So when did things change? How did things change? And watching you say these things is honestly just like gut wrenching for our beloved Ciara. So at the beach, Ciara decides to talk to Kyle about her idea about her. So at the beach, Ciara decides to talk to Kyle about her idea about Kyle and Amanda separating, and he just seems really, really sad about the idea. And I mean, it is a sad thing, right? At the end of the day, it is. He's really shocked to hear from Ciara that Amanda was for the idea. And I guess he thought because they were going to therapy that they were really trying to work on things. And the fact that Amanda is open to them living separately makes him feel like, they're sort of on two different pages. And he really cannot believe the fact that the entire house is having a conversation about his separation from his wife that he's not really a part of. Now, I do find the whole thing interesting that this is really Ciara's idea, if you think about it. She's the one who's been talking about this for weeks. She brought it up to the other guys weeks ago at some of the parties. She's bringing it up to Amanda. Now she's bringing it up to Kyle. I think she is truly doing it out of the goodness of her heart. I think a lot of people online are debating whether she's getting too involved in somebody else's relationship. I think when you're in your 20s, I feel like you are more invested in your friends' relationships. That being said, it really isn't her place. They're a married couple, and what they do is really up to them. But it doesn't really seem like they're put off by it whatsoever in terms of Ciara having like input into this, right? It doesn't seem like Kyle is upset. He's like, thank you so much for giving me your input and telling me what you think. And I think it's because these people are just such a like close, tight-knit family that it just sort of feels very normal and natural for them to be this involved in each other's relationships. And at the end of the day, Ciara wasn't wrong. Like it is a good idea. And it's crazy that what's come out of it at the end of the day, right? Because what they ended up doing was exactly what Ciara described. I just recently read you guys the Marie Claire article that Amanda did on my episode of Be True Hollywood Story. And in that, she talks about the separation being them just dating each other, being for a month. Like everything that she's saying is exactly how Ciara had described it. So it's almost like Ciara had kind of fashioned their separation. And at the end of the day, they still didn't end up being able to work things out, which it is what it is. But, I do kind of appreciate Ciara for really trying to get involved, only because this seems to be a couple that doesn't know how to take steps forward in terms of working on their relationship, whether it's ending it or making it better. And it does affect everyone else at the end of the day if you think about it, right? They're all living in a house together. Think about the years and years of fights that this couple has had and how it's impacted everyone else, how they've had to get involved. So if you think about it in that way, yes, they're an independent couple and they're married and it's nobody else's business. But when they're making it everyone's business, well, then I think everyone has a right to sort of have an input if you think about it. So our last scene is the crew sitting down for their second annual Freedom Dinner, which they are calling the Lost Supper. Lindsay is hosting the dinner, and they decide to play a game called Lost and Found. So basically, this is talking about things that you have lost in life, but then things that you have also found. So for example, Lindsay said that she has lost all the timelines. She doesn't care about timelines anymore. And what she found was her dream girl. And obviously she means Gemma. So that was really, really sweet. Bailey and Carl end up making out in front of Lindsay during the game, and it's absolutely wild to watch just because it's like it's in front of Lindsay and she seems so jazzed by it. And I'm just so happy for Bailey because I don't know why her and Carl aren't together in current day, but they seem so cute together. You have Carl making this super weird comment after the fact to the camera saying, you know, when you just like plug something into the wall and you plug it in once right away and it fits, it felt like that. And that just felt so, oh my God, it sort of felt like inappropriate in a way, but I get what you mean, man. And then she ends up saying that the kiss is better than her kiss with Ben. So go off, Carl. I think there's no better couple than this quirky pair. Like, he is so sweet and nice, and he deserves a girl who's like genuine and successful in her own right and funny. And I really think that Bailey is that. And I wonder if what he's told us sort of in little pieces about, you know, being worried about getting together with someone in the house and how that can impact things, maybe that's part of his reasoning. Maybe it's the fact that Bailey is close friends with Lindsay now. Despite the fact that Lindsay has said that that's okay, it's still weird, right? Like, is that okay for everybody necessarily? So maybe that's that. But, you know, good for Bailey. She had a good summer, and I'm really happy for her. Wes says that he lost his voice last summer, but he found a friendship again that was really important to him. So he's obviously talking about Ciara, but like, fuck you, West. Then we get to KJ, and KJ says that he lost his brother as a kid, and it's been hard for him to open up to men in general, but he is so thankful for the boys this summer because he really found community. And if you watch the episode, you really see how much that camaraderie and that community has had such an impact on KJ. You see him smiling with the boys, really enjoying it, saying that he wishes that the summer wouldn't end. So I threaded something last night after watching the episode that I just want to read to you guys that I think really puts together why KJ is taking Scamanda, West Mandival, whatever you want to call it, so hard. Because I feel like the way he's been threadsing throughout this whole thing, the fact that he like wasn't answering West's texts, all of it, I really feel like there was a reason that he was taking it especially hard. So this is what I threaded. I said, it's so clear now why KJ has been taking Scamanda so hard. He lost his brother and didn't have his dad around, and he had male figures, but he was never one of the boys. Last summer gave him the camaraderie he so desired, and now he's hurt that Wes could have shaken that brotherly bond that they have built. Now I posted that, and then he DM'd me right away, and he said, you described this perfectly. Thank you. So it just showed that, like, why he's so upset about West doing this. I think it's a lot more than just him knowing West for a long time. I think it's West possibly fucking with the show, fucking with the friend group, and just fucking with, like, this really comfortable community that KJ has been so excited to be a part of. And I think, you know, that's how these kinds of scandals can really affect other people. If you look back at Scandival, there were so many other people who were impacted by it in the same way, right? I mean, the demise of Vanderpump Rules as a show ended because of Scandival, if you think about it, right? So it really does impact a lot of other people, even if you think it's just the two of you. If you're on a show together and it has to do with that, it is going to affect a lot more people than you think. Ciara ends up saying that she lost a huge weight off of her shoulders, which was disliking West. And she now gets to genuinely love the person that she loves the most, which is Westling. Then they look over at him and he looks confused. And I'm like, oh, girl, I hate that you're saying this. You're saying out loud that he's the person you love the most. I hate this because obviously we know where this is going to go. And I'm just wondering when abouts things sort of take a turn. Because one thing that we still haven't had confirmed, one thing that is still out there in the rumor mill, and it might come out in the reunion, the parts that weren't leaked, was whether West and Ciara hooked up like a few weeks ago or after the end of filming, because I think that the way that things are going now, it sort of seems like she's on the trajectory of like, this is going to be my boyfriend and we're going to get back together and all of these things. And I think he's thinking none of these things, which is just really upsetting and unfortunate. So then we have Kyle telling us that he got a manager who has hooked him up with some DJ gigs in Vegas, and he's telling us that he's going to be treating it as a career and not a hobby. He is now Kyle Cook, the DJ. And we have Lindsay jumping in almost like a big sis sort of capacity on behalf of Amanda, to the point where Amanda says almost nothing during this entire interaction. So this is the big scene. This is the big scene where we see Kyle and Carl go at each other. And this all starts with Lindsay first saying, "Did you ask Amanda before you made this decision?" And Kyle's like, "Well, I haven't made a decision yet." And so Amanda's like, "Okay, so this is the conversation. Like, this is the time we're having this decision." And Kyle's like, "Listen, like, I have lots of friends that are DJs who are married with kids." And Lindsay's like, "Yeah, but those were people who were already DJs and who were already married with kids. Amanda didn't marry a DJ. This is something you took up after, meaning you have to talk to your wife, and this has to be a decision that you make in terms of a partnership." And then Kyle's firing back with, "What kind of partnership? We're not in a partnership. We don't do anything together. We're not partners." And he starts getting in his head and cannot fathom the idea that people are not happy for him, that he loves music, and why they wouldn't be supportive of his love of music. And it's like, dude, it is not about your love of music. It is about you not considering your wife in a single part of this. Then he decides to look at Amanda, who, again, who has not said a thing at this point, but she is just smiling in a really creepy way, because she's smiling because she's like, look at him go off at the fact that I'm doing absolutely nothing, right? And he looks at her and he goes, "Fuck you." And I'm like, dude, I cannot believe that he keeps doing this. Like, wild to me. It's absolutely wild that he just keeps swearing at her like this. He hates her. Now, she hates him too, granted. These two hate each other. But then why are they even trying, right? Like, the fact that I was even feeling sad for him a few minutes ago at the beach when he's just so down and out about the point that his relationship is at. It's like, well, later that night, dude, you're saying fuck you, right? Like, you hate her. Now, also, during this entire interaction, which is getting quite heated, West gets up and he goes and sits next to Amanda. He picks up his chair and brings it over to Amanda. And the second that man stood up, bitch, I stood up. I was like, no, he did not. What are you, her knight in shining armor? You do not need to sit next to her. What are you, her boyfriend or something? Like, it was just so wildly inappropriate. Unless he believed that Kyle was going to like physically attack her or something, there was no reason for he really wanted to do the knight in shining armor thing. He really wanted to come off extremely chivalrous. And I'm not going to allow my friend Amanda to be spoken to that way. When again, that is something he would never ever do for Ciara. So Kyle starts feeling like he's being ganged up on. He starts kind of losing it. He gets up and he says that they don't have a partnership. Amanda doesn't pull her weight at all. He loses his mind. He says, "Fuck everyone." He turns all red. Like, I've never seen him get like quite like that. And Carl tries to calm him down, but he's not really able to. They both run outside. And that's when they get in like this physical altercation. And Carl is like, dude, calm the fuck down. Why are you getting like this? And even Carl is kind of going at him. And I don't blame Carl, quite frankly, because look at the way that Kyle has treated him for quite a while now. We also know that Carl has been harboring all of this resentment towards Kyle that he hasn't really felt comfortable saying. This is the way that my dad is, quite frankly, where he won't talk about how he's feeling, and then he'll harbor that resentment and harbor it and harbor it. And then once a year, he just explodes for like no reason. And I'm not saying that Carl has no reason, but we know that he has been harboring resentment. And I feel like it's all coming out now in terms of like this physical altercation, because he just wants to say fuck you to Kyle. That's what he's been wanting to say to him for a while. And I think that that's where things come from. Now, obviously, we know in current day, they are absolutely fine and they're in a good place. But, this was the moment that we were waiting for. And it was kind of iconic in a way to see Carl and Kyle fight. They are sort of like the OGs, the staples of this show. And to watch them go at each other was sort of reminiscent of how Vanderpump Rules season 7 or 8 ended. Was it season 8? I think it was season 8, where Tom Sandoval and Jax were no longer friends, and it was like the end of an era, right? And so if Kyle and Carl were not able to come back together, which we know that they do, it would have been sort of the end of an era when it comes to Summer House. So that's the end of the episode, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. Don't forget that I have an all-new podcast called All You Need Is You, which is a guide to living your best solo life. So if you know anyone who's into that kind of thing, have them download the episodes every Friday. I also have an Instagram, TikTok, and Threads account for All You Need Is You pod, so you can follow over there. Oh, and for me, the Bravo Investigator, you can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Threads at the Bravo Investigator. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. If I make it to 1,000 subscribers, I can monetize, so that would be amazing. Join the Facebook page because we are having a great time over there as well. And I love you, BBs. I will see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Bravo Investigator podcast. For more content, head over to patreon.com/the Bravo Investigator podcast. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at the Bravo Investigator. If you enjoyed the show, leave a 5-star review. Love you, BBs. See you next time.